Can you hear me now?
Hi, Ron.
There we go.
Speak. Speak. Awesome, good, good. You're up. Anything for club services?
Oh, just a reminder, second Tuesday of the month, we're having a fireside. And
Okay.
yeah, that's all.
Cool. So Sam, could you say a few words just so we can test see if Ron can hear back there?
It's good to be back.
Awesome. You hear that?
Perfect.
Good. The whole audio thing seems like it's working pretty well, I think. I'm up here, but yeah.
Yeah, once you kick it off mute, it works really well.
Yeah. Thank you, Ron. Yeah, okay, good. So Brian Ruiz, we got a lot of things coming up.
Yeah, I just gotta get on the calendar and send out some emails, so, just look out for it. This weekend, I'll probably get on the calendar and get it out. We got a big punch list that the city gave us. From painting to fixing tabletops at the parks and stuff, so, I'll get that out. And then we still have the torch down now, but it's getting nice, so. That's the main, the big one.
So we're, that's gonna have to be on the weekend though, right?
Yeah, now that school,
Back.
school, unless we wait till summer, which we should be able to do. On a Saturday, if there's a mountain west, I mean, it's a big area, so we can spread out.
Okay, any questions about that? Okay, great.
It's an interactive, it's an interactive walkway, so it's like these decals we put down. It might be hopscotch, it might be a maze or something like that, so we have to torch them down. We're doing it at an elementary school. We've done one other, so,
It's just like when you're out driving around as a crosswalk.
Yeah.
yeah, it's the same
It's the
material.
same kind of a decal, and their designs and hopscotch or whatever, so. That's
I
what-
got a big torch.
Oh, you do good. See, you're all in.
No.
You're-
Yeah.
It's a big weed burner.
Yeah.
Good, excellent. That would be great. I don't know if Linda.
I'm here.
There you go.
Okay, good. You're not usually sitting there, but that's cool.
I changed seats today.
Good.
So just three things. The July trip is on for Copan, if anybody's interested. You can still talk to Marty and join them. And it's a trip that they're gonna go to all the schools, so it's a good one to go to. The Semiyami Club is joining the IPA.
Oh, wow.
So that's the 13th club and they're adopting another village, and so that's good news. And then the July 20th IPA meeting is going to be in person at the farmhouse. And so if anybody wants to join that, there's a social hour between 5 and 6. I could put that out in an email if
That'd be great.
you want to.
Yeah, when is that?
July the 20th.
Okay. That'd be great.
That's
Okay,
it.
Awesome, thanks. And then I don't see Kyle here. And vocational, I did see a message from events that was working through the budget. And there was no technical people from the VOTEC schools that applied for this, so he's trying to push somebody over there to kind of get some applications in, because it's a little different route that takes place versus, college bound or whatever, so he's kind of working that. And I think he sent out the matrix and he's getting ready to send out, if he hasn't already, the applications to review and score and look at. So he's ramping up for that. And we're also ramping up Josie to go to Oslo, Norway, I guess, here, in August or whatever. So we're kind of getting that all ramped up to go. And vetting the host families, so we're getting ready for that. So we'll be looking for 2 or 3 people to help vet the families, and I think it's a visit and a couple things I'm just learning myself, so trying to spearhead some of that. So that'll be kind of fun. That'll be cool. And then maybe before Josie leaves for her big trip, we can have her come and talk a little bit about her experience just getting to go. It's incredible the amount of work and things. I think I think maybe this weekend that the exchange students went to Seabeck on Hood Canal, and it seemed like it would just like one big fun thing, but they're studying the creatures on the beach and writing reports and all kinds of heavy duty homework. It's amazing. Not sure we could do it. Yeah, it sounds pretty cool. And I don't see Chris Martin here, so IT got this up and running, that's awesome, doesn't take him long. And then, I don't know, I think, Ron, I think you're the only one on there. Anyhow, we're kind of running fast here, which is okay for a nice sunny day, right? So, now I guess did I forget anything? I have Tracy.
I finally sent out 3 emails. I'm in a different seat. Joyce and I are mixed up.
It's awesome.
I sent 3 emails. They all went to my junk box, so please look at your junk box. There's a score sheet and it's, 20 points for, and 60 and 20, whatever. So you have to score them all. There are 2 more coming. I did find your email. So there's an Everett YMCA request and there's a Marysville YMCA request. And then Kendra told me last week there was somebody who was supposed to be, but I haven't heard from her. I'll follow up. Score them, take a picture of the score sheet, write your name down so I know who scored. Take a picture, text it. I sent you my cell phone number, or you can email it if you'd rather email. I don't care. But as soon as we can, and then we're gonna, I'm gonna try to go to the board meeting. I don't know that I'll be able to take it though.
Okay, we can have a separate,
May, so that we can decide what money we're giving out. Hopefully we can get a lot. And help support other organizations. So watch, check your junk box.
awesome, thanks for doing all of that and the forms and everything,
Yeah.
it's really pretty cool. And I did see there's a number of them out there, so that's pretty neat.
Yeah, 5 so far, and I'm expecting 2 more.
Okay, cool. And we are getting together with a couple of us to go over the year-end finances, to go through the budget to make sure you have X and Lance has Y and Linda has ABC and all that stuff, so.
B and C, fancy. I
Well,
only get X.
X is a bigger number.
Okay.
ABC is double small numbers and added together. Make a big deal. So anyhow, I don't see our speaker here yet, but maybe she gets here at 8, so. Anyhow, I'll move on to the Sergeant of Arms, if you would. God.
And I would.
Good,
So thank you.
yes.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
All right, let's try that one more time. Good morning, everybody.
Good
morning. All right. Hey.
I would love to do whatever we're gonna do.
Mix it
He's
up.
a happy birthday boy this week.
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
And then the number is.
Number ends in last 4 6678.
Oh.
Hey. Well done, well done.
All right.
We were too late. I'll pick you up earlier later.
Here we go.
Oh.
Thank you so very much. Good stuff. That's good.
Gotta save money.
Today's a great day.
Yeah, it is.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. It's good to see everybody. I've missed a few meetings. So it's nice to be back. House, I'm gonna start off with happy bucks myself. We're not doing fines. Our house has been torn apart for about 2 years, the living room. Finally, last Friday, we got it back together. I'm super happy. I'm gonna Venmo it. So there you go. And it's good to see everybody here today. So let's stand up. You guys know the drill. Shake it out a little bit. All right, take it out. All right. Here we go. Some Jack LaLanne. You guys ready? Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. And you can go sideways too. 8 and 9 and 10. And that is it. All right. Now a little yoga. Okay. So remember wallet yoga. Okay. Go to leaning person. Transition into wallet grab. Take wallet out. Okay, and then if you don't have a wallet, it's grab your phone into Venmo person. All right, good job, everybody. Good job, good job. And then I heard, we were talking about the hokey pokey. I think we might bring that back in the next week or two. That sound okay?
Plan.
And then did everybody tell Lance about the new member singing the Rotary new member song? Are you ready?
Keeps coming every meeting.
There's a dance.
Lots of initiations. Rotary hazing is terrible. Hey, no, let's, today is such a beautiful day and it's good to see everybody. Well, let's just jump into some happy thoughts. So, start over here again.
Yeah, happy to be here. I don't know if you guys heard, the food bank got their state funding. So thank you to Sam and Steve. I know you guys did some work on it down there, a lot of work on it down there.
You have to wait for the governor to sign it.
Yeah. Oh, well, then they. Sorry. I don't know. He took us out once, so let's hope he doesn't do it again. But yeah, we're happy. Yeah,
Congrats.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Good. First short sleeve shirt of the year. $5 and happy bucks. I just spent 9 days in Cancun. $3 in unhappy bucks. I'm back in Lisa.
I'm happy to be here and happy first class weather.
Here with you. I just, next week in Arizona was beautiful, and next week I go to Hawaii, so it's a good life.
What club are you?
Seattle Northeast, Lake City.
Yeah. How are you?
I think I'm happy today, beautiful day, and I get to spend some time. Nice. Yeah.
I am happy to be here today, genuinely happy to be here. We finished Sunday in Olympia. We did get some great stuff for Lake Stevens. We do have to wait for the governor to sign. But the cedar wood, we got that one done, the food bank stuff for all kinds of good stuff. So really excited for that. Hope I'll be able to get a good report later on. Happy to be here.
We're happy you're here. Welcome back.
Sunny and right.
Friday, happy to be with Rotary. Absolutely. Warren, how are you?
Well, always happy, but I'm particularly happy today because both of my daughters are in attendance at Rotary. Lori and Sarah. And so it's wonderful to spend time with them together. And then yesterday, we planted a tree in the name of my wife, Lorna. Oh, so we planted this tree, it's on my patio. And so her memory will continue on. Fantastic. And then let's see, what else could I be happy about? My loving government has told me that I have to give $19,000 away. And I decided that $19,000 is all going to the Lake Stevens community.
Wow.
In various organizations. Rotary will be a significant one. Food bank and senior centers and things like that will get money from that $19,000.
Wow.
Just remember that was the federal government.
Yeah.
Tell yourself it's great to be an American.
I've been randomly calling people.
Well, it's great to have money to be able to give away. I like doing that. That goes. It all goes in.
We see money on the table, we know what that's supposed to be.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, so I'm happy to be one of Lauren's daughters. It's quite an experience being Lauren's daughter. Wonderful experience. Happy to be here on the anniversary of losing him. For us all to be together. I'm happy that my father is so future thinking. He's got a robot now to mow his lawn. Just ordered it yesterday. When you guys did that whisper thing, Dad told us about it and we went, wow. So now we have a robot.
Nice.
And arrives on Tuesday. So you can have happy hour, celebrate watching, go for a special grab.
It's always good to see you.
I hate to go after. I'm gonna be here. Okay, put him on. Same, happy, it's sunny, happy it's Friday. I actually had to work 4 days this week. Don't worry, next week is only 3, so back to normal.
So this $10 bill looks like it's about to have its last life, but Shannon, they put in there. I had to do 10 because there's so much going on. Mike and I are grandparents now. Eugene Westover was born on the 16th, which is also my son's birthday, so they're gonna share a birthday. She ended up having to have a C-section, and my son could not handle being in the operating room with it. So I can see that people in Edward was such a fabulous experience, and guess who got to hold that baby first? Oh my gosh! So that was tremendous amount of joy. I've been spending a lot of time down there with them, helping them out. The other thing, as Dad and Carrie kind of mentioned, yesterday was the anniversary of Mom passing. And as I was driving in, I was remembering one of my favorite stories, and I really wanted to share it with you guys. And it was probably over 40 years ago. Mom and I was working in Everett, County. Mom came and met me for lunch. We went to this little restaurant to have lunch, and there was a young man there with most of his belongings around him, sitting sort of on the curb. And we're chatting away, starting to go in, and she stops and she looks at him and she says, "Have you eaten today?" And he's like, "No." And so she immediately went in, ordered him some food, and brought it out to him. And that's had such a long lasting effect on me, because she saw him as an individual, and without making a big deal of it, she tried to meet some of his needs. And so it's a lesson that I really carry with me. I wanted to share that. Thanks.
For those of you who haven't met me yet, I'm Lance Morgan. I'm happy today to have found such a great group of people. And I'm really excited to sign up and be part of this organization, Rotary here in Lake Stevens. And I'm really excited to also be involved in the community just to help people. So thank you, everyone. Hey, welcome. Before I get on this table, is there a security detail that goes with the table?
Don't see it. Stephen, our own security. A couple happy bucks. One, sun's out. I love seeing all the Great Lake Stevens families down in the parks and enjoying being out about. And two, a lot of respect to teachers. I spent Tuesday 5 classes in the civics at the high school, and I was tired. I was smoked. But we have such great, smart high schoolers. They ask. The only people I fear more is when I go visit the senior center and get questions from them. Just great, engaging questions from them. It's fun to see.
Sorry, I'm gonna, but that's normal for me. Sorry, you won't see a lot of me in the next couple of weeks because I gotta make up a bunch of military time there. It's good to be back. I'm glad session's over. Thank you, Sam, for passing some of my bills here. And this is a little fun thing for me, but just a couple weeks ago, I got to go to the the Los Angeles Hollywood premiere of Dungeons and Dragons. I got invited to go. It's pretty cool. If you're wondering why, it's my other happy bug. A good friend of mine that I played D&D with for like years. He went up the ranks of his company, and that he's the president of Hasbro. now. That's why I got invited. It wasn't some weird government like payoff. I just want you all to know that. And I pay most of my way. So anyway, that's all I got. Yeah, I do, but I was gonna go down to. Good to see you.
I am happy about the Kraken. I'm becoming a quick hockey fan. Go Kraken.
Yeah.
And I'm headed to Spain for a motorcycle tour on Sunday. for 2 weeks. I'm super excited.
Very cool.
Hey there, how are you? Good, good.
I'm Danielle from the Rotary Club of Waconer, and I'm here as I annually am to sell you tulips. They're $6 a bunch. We'll take cash, check, or credit card. I'm sorry I'm late. My navigation routed me a weird way, but great to be here again.
Thanks for being here.
I'm happy for the Kraken. I'm happy to be helping out to build tables over at Greater Zone. And I'm happy to see that our government did a day off.
Chris,
Yes, I'm happy to be
I'm
here.
not gonna leave you behind.
No,
Because you always have me.
Shucks. What's in other words?
Golly gee.
Golly gee, Batman. A couple of bucks put in there. I'm just so excited that everybody's here today and everybody's happy. The sun's out. Let's enjoy the rest of Friday. We have a couple other things here, so I'm very happy, but I'm happy you're here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Jack. Jim.
And then Ron is up in the TV land. How you doing, Ron? I know you're
I'm
not-
doing great. Happy. It's Friday. It's where I'm at. It's going to be in the upper to mid 80s. So I'm enjoying the sun and getting my place ready for the summer.
Good stuff.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate everything. And so we do have the gal back there, Danielle, that's from O'Connor, is going to be selling tulips after the show's over here. And so we appreciate you coming up and kind of, the flowers are nice. And how many more days is there left?
Looks like we'll go through next week. The flowers are really pretty. I think they chopped a few of the really early varieties, but I came through and behind Risen Guard this morning, it was still beautiful colors. So come on up this weekend and next week.
Okay, so when we're done with the meeting, you can talk to her. She's got tulips for sale. They're really gorgeous, so. And Chris, did you have anything about IT or?
No, we're good.
Okay.
I'm muted. We're good.
Okay. Had to take a class on that. And I noticed something out in the parking lot today. It was very cool looking, and it's a black Tesla. So who owns that? Awesome. You just have a white one, didn't you?
No, I've had it 4.5 years.
Okay, wow. My neighbor. Yeah, you guys can have a race.
I just gotta tell you, we went to Los Angeles and I rented a Tesla, just for the experience of it, right? I got into it at 11 o'clock at night at the airport. I had no idea how to turn it on. I can sit there in the car and watch a YouTube video. It was completely lost.
Goodness,
But yeah, some card that you had to have. So I had to find the card and wave it over some point, and all of a sudden, and it doesn't make any noise. The car's actually on. Right. Push the gas pedal and you'll go. Gas pedal. Push the power.
That's weird. Yes. Awesome. So, Kendra had a family emergency situation, so she had to move the speaker out. So we do have Sam Lowe here that could give us a little update on the legislation that happened this past couple months. Thank you, Sam. Appreciate that.
Well, it's nice to be the guest speaker today. I got about 3 minutes notice, so. I have some good news. I'm not on the ballot this year, so. I know a lot of you have seen me campaigning the last 2 years. For those that don't know, because I know there's several new ones here, I used to serve on the Lake Stevens City Council. In 2016, I was elected to the county council. And then last year, I was elected to the state legislature. And so I just finished my first session in Olympia. And the unique thing about my experience is I'm doing 2 jobs. So I'm still on the county council, serving in that capacity and serving in the legislature. And that's the great thing about a part-time legislature is all the legislators down there, for the most part, have second jobs. And a few of us have second jobs that are elected jobs. So Strom Peterson, who's also a legislator for many years, he's also on the county council. So we have 2 of our 5 county council members who are also legislators. Going into the experience, obviously, I'm very well known in Lake Stevens and doing political stuff. And so going to the legislature was pretty easy as far as being prepared to pass bills and to work on legislation. You know, a lot of people said, how are you going to be able to handle both positions? And so far this year, I'm the only county council member that hasn't missed a vote. And so I made all the votes on the county council this year so far, and I made all the votes in the legislature. And so we do about 800 or 900 votes in the legislature. So we've already done that this year. On the county council, over a period of a year, we do about 500 to 600 votes. And that's not the only thing that we do as legislators or as county council members. You know, we go out and make visits and work on community issues. So I have 3 phones. I have my personal phone, which has several emails on it that, you know, campaign stuff and regular stuff. I have my county council phone. And then I have my state legislative phone. And so I'm constantly on the phone all the time. It definitely keeps me busy. I do have the privilege of working with our Secretary of State. And the reason why that's important is I was able to pass my first bill, and it was a bill that was a Secretary of State request. And so as a freshman, you get elected in the fall, in November. You don't really get any staff. My staff member's first day was this first day of session in January. And so you're trying to figure out everything and who to talk to and all the different stuff of a new job. And so if you've already been in the legislature, you've already got bills that you're already working on. But for us freshmen, we kind of get bills handed to us to work on if we want them. And so I worked on several Secretary of State request bills. Actually, I had 7 bills that I worked on. And I did have some bills I put forward myself. And so it's how you learn the process. I got the 2 bills passed, one signed by the governor last week, which was really cool. That was the Medal of Valor, and basically making it easier for the governor to award the Medal of Valor. And I have another bill that should be signed hopefully this next week, which is the Oregon Transport Vehicle Bill. And basically letting organs like hearts and liver and that sort of stuff be able to have lights and sirens on the vehicles so they can get from the airport to the hospital quickly and vice versa. It really is a problem. I think we heard testimony that 7,000 livers each year go unused because they run out of time. And so traffic is one of those things that gets in the way. Logistics is another. And so now if the governor signs my bill, which if he doesn't sign it, then I got to take it back again next year. But it was unanimous in the House and unanimous in the Senate. So I do expect the governor to sign it. Then we'll have lights and sirens on these vehicles. And these are driven by former firefighters, former police officers, highly experienced individuals drive these vehicles. And so they'll be able to use the carpool lane now, be able to use lights and sirens to get those delivered. So look for that in the news next week, and hopefully we'll have some fun with that one. As far as getting into the legislature as a new person, we had 21 new legislators this year out of the 98 in the House. I can't speak much about the Senate. We do work opposite. You know, Senate does their things, and Senator Hobbs did so many great years in the Senate. In the legislature of the 98, like I said, the 21 of us were new. So that's a lot of new people. So we come in, we've all been elected by our communities to serve. And then you get bombarded by lobbyists, you get bombarded by emails. Sometimes you'll get, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails every day. I'm an unusual legislator. I answer all my own emails. So I do have an assistant in Olympia and I have an assistant at the county who can do my emails. I let them do kind of the government to government emails and scheduling and all that. But I like to hear from my constituents directly. And so I like to return my emails. And at the legislature, we have two emails. We have one that's kind of an internal email system with other legislators and that, and then we have the external. And I talked to a legislator that's pretty well known in this area. And when I was speaking with them, they said, I never go to the second email system. That's the ones from you guys. And they told me this, that it's just crazy. Because you get bombarded with some pretty weird stuff. But you do hear from regular constituents on the needs that they have. And so their assistant will go through it, reply for them, and pass on whatever they need to know. But I personally like to just dig in myself, roll up my sleeves. So I spend a lot of time on the computer each day returning emails. You probably notice my emails are about 1 or 2 sentences long because I am responding to several hundred emails a day. But I feel like it really keeps me in touch with the community. As far as the districts that I represent, so on the county council, I represent Lake Stevens, which is my largest city, and all the Highway 2 cities. So basically kind of Lake Stevens South, Clearview, Maltby, and then east all the way out to Index. In the state legislature, I represent Lake Stevens, which is my largest city, a third of Marysville, and I go all the way up into Skagit County and Cedar Woolley. So I do represent Skagit County, and that's a long drive up there, but I enjoy doing it. As far as my schedule, I got back on Monday, moved my travel trailer. I stay in a travel trailer down there, which is my first experience doing that. We have a lot of options. We can rent a room in a house. We can get a travel trailer. You can stay in a hotel. There's a lot of different things you can do when you're down there. I chose a travel trailer route and I really enjoyed it. I didn't have to move my stuff out of a hotel every weekend and stuff like that. I did during session, I did come home almost every Monday night. So sometimes I get home between 10 p.m. and midnight on Monday night. I'd go down Sunday night, and then I would be at the county council on Tuesday mornings for our meetings in person, because I did have more morning meetings in Olympia. And then on Wednesdays, I would do my county council remotely. And so that's how I did the 105-day session. Next year is just a 60-day session. So for 60 days, I'll have to juggle both schedules again. If it was a year-long thing, I don't think that my body can handle it. It's pretty stressful trying to juggle two. But if you can be a member of 2 clubs, I'm sure you can be a member doing 2 elected jobs. So we'll see, and it's up to the voters. We did have a very successful year for Lake Stevens. As we heard earlier, we got about just over 600,000 for the food bank. And if you've been on 20th lately, you've seen it's almost done. The reason it's not done is they needed the rest of the money. And so we really worked hard behind the scenes to get that money. I was actually sweating bullets if we didn't get that money. How were we going to get the rest of the money to finish that food bank? Between the county council, I don't know if you remember, some of you remember last year, we got about $850,000 to the food bank from the county. And so through my role there and then with the state, so about 1.5 million between the county and the state, I've been able to direct to the food bank. So that's been huge. In addition to the city,
900K.
yeah, right, the city's 900K. We're going to get it done. It's going to get done this summer. Sophina and the board members are so happy there. So that's a huge victory for our food bank. We also got some money for the historical society. They had a big request, and that was cool. The other one, which I was hoping we just get half the money,
but we got the full request, and that was 1.1 million for the Cedarwood Rec Center. And so I met with Bill Sikalis with the Boys and Girls Clubs. Are they gonna do the
There's some emails on it.
okay, we'll work on that later, but we got the money so that they could renovate it, and it's up by Frontier Village, by the fire station up there. An old rec center that was just gonna sit in there and wreck. It had a full gym, 2 stories. I toured it with the mayor a couple of years ago. And they needed the money to renovate that so it can be used for the kids in the community again. So that 1.1 million is going to go a long way. And then there was another one too that we got for Lake Stevens. Oh, the park, Frontier Park, to do the pickleball courts and some of the other court stuff there too. And so huge budget requests. We delivered on all those, and it's been an honor working with Representative Eslick and Senator Wagner, who also represent this area now. And we need to have them come in so that our club can meet them. But we truly had a strong team working together. And it's difficult because it's a political environment. And I've appreciated my relationship with Secretary of State Hobbs. And he's a Democrat, I'm a Republican, and we've had such a great working relationship over the years. And on the county council, it's very bipartisan, even though we have different political affiliations on the county council. But when you go to Olympia, it's a whole different ballgame. It's very political down there. It's tough to be effective down there. I felt like I was very effective because I'm used to working across party lines at the county council. I took that approach down to Olympia. And so I felt like I was very successful down there, but there's some people that are not successful, and on both sides, whether you're Democrat, even though they're in the majority there's some Democrats that are not successful because they're so stuck in ideology and not able to work well with others. You get in the sandbox, you have to work with others, and sometimes you can't. The same thing with some Republicans too. They go down there and they just don't know how to work across the aisle, and so they're ineffective too. And so it's a struggle. The political stuff, I don't miss the political stuff down there. I'm glad to be out of that. I had a meeting this week with the Secretary of State in Everett. He said, how come you guys didn't take a week off after session? I came back, I was right to work on Tuesday at the county, going strong. It is draining. You need time to just kind of deprogram and get everything together because you have so much information that flows through. Ryan and I are going to go to Mexico at the end of May, and so that's kind of my time to deprogram. But you need that time to just kind of get away. Almost thought I said 8:34. I was like, wow, I really talked a long time. Once I got back on Tuesday, I was at the county council. Tuesday night, I was out. The committee meeting with Steve. And then Wednesday, same thing, community meetings out in Gold Bar. Tomorrow night, I'll be up in Skagit County at the Tulip Farm there for an event tomorrow from 5 to 8. And so there's always events. I'm always on the go. Thankfully, I have my Tesla. I put a lot of miles going back and forth between Olympia and into the district. And most of the time I charge for free, so it doesn't cost me too much to do that. So I'm glad I'm not putting a lot of miles in the gas tank with the gas prices the way they are. The state budget, we are waiting on that to see what happens with the state budget. The governor can veto things. Again, I don't expect him to veto the food bank as some of the projects we have, but he has vetoed things before. The other part so the committees that I'm involved in, I met with our former leader, JT Wilcox, and he said, we went easy on you on committees. And I said, well, actually you gave me 4 committees. So most people in Olympia have 3 committees that they work on. I actually worked on 4. That was in addition to working here. But I have a master's degree in organizational leadership, so I'm pretty good about juggling things really well. So the biggest one that I serve on is transportation. And so I'm what's called the assistant ranking on transportation. So I'm involved in all the budget discussions on transportation. We started that day 1 with Chair Fye in the House. And Chair Fye was very bipartisan in his approach to the transportation budget. And so we went through the state patrol's budget, the ferries budget. Each week kind of had a different thing, including projects. The struggle with WASDOT is they don't have enough workers to do all the work that's been assigned to them by the legislature. And so the governor, when he put forward his budget last fall, he took a lot of the projects and pushed them out about 10 years and said, even though the money's there now, we got to push that money out. And so some projects in Spokane, they have a north-south freeway that got pushed out, even though they're in the middle of construction. And so we got a lot of emails on that. But those projects got pushed out. 522 is one that I've worked on a lot that got pushed out. And so we had to work hard to bring these projects back. And so we have 31 million that we're working on Highway 522. The good news is the trestle, that money is still going forward. We have about 210 million slated for that, which is a good number. That's a lot of money, 210 million, but it's about a $2 billion project. And so the money that's there is to do the design, the engineering, the right of way and all that stuff. So that's slotted over the next 3 2-year cycles. I looked at the numbers the other day. Don't quote me on these numbers, but I want to say there's like 15 million over the next 2 years, then about 80 million or 84 million, and then about 80 million, something like that. But they'll continue working on all that, which means we're going to need another transportation package. And nobody knows more about transportation packages than Secretary of State Hobbs. He's worked on a lot of those. He's an expert in that area. But we're not going to be able to finish the trestle unless we get the rest of that money. So we're going to need the 2 billion for the trestle. We need about 7.5 billion for the Vancouver to Portland bridge that needs to be replaced. That's a partnership with the state of Oregon. That's about a 6-mile stretch of bridges and interchanges that have to be worked on for that 7.5 billion. And 522 is now 270 million. So that's going to be a lift. And then we also have Highway 2 to deal with. Anybody that's trying to go east on Fridays, you know what Highway 2 is, and trying to come back on Sundays, it's a bear. And that's not even addressed in any of that. So we are going to need another transportation package to pay for that. They did vote for tolls for the Vancouver to Portland route, which is I-5, which the reason I bring that up is if they're talking about tolls for that, I don't think they're going to let us put in a trestle without a toll. Again, that's not my decision to make. That's the decision of the entire legislature. If we can find a way to pay for it, like if the federal government just writes us a check for the 2 billion, then I think we're off the hook. But if they don't write us the check and the state has to pay for it, they're going to try to find a way to help pay for that. So what that looks like, I don't know yet, but that's definitely on the possibility that you want to keep your eyes and ears open. So, and when they toll to go south, the plan is to actually toll Highway 205 or Interstate 205 and I-5. And so if you want to go south, you're gonna have to pay a toll probably is what it's looking like. So that's probably going to be the new funding source. I'm a big proponent of public-private partnerships, but that's difficult too, because you got to find entities that want to invest in state projects. So even that usually comes with a toll also. So the transportation is the big committee I serve on. I also serve on the rules committee. And so people say, what is the rules committee? That's the one that makes you everybody's friend. And I get a lot of extra emails because the rules committee determines which bills get heard on the floor. And so you put forward your bills that you want to run. And I had about 7 bills that I ran this year. But once it goes to the committee, it's up to the committee chair to determine which bills get heard in committee. So my signature bill that I was really excited about this year, which was dealing with referees, school referees, and assaults on referees. It didn't even get a public hearing. The chair said, I'm not gonna let it get heard in that committee. The good news is my other 6 bills all got heard in committee and all got voted out of committee. So that's the big thing. You got to get it heard in committee, then you got to get it voted out. Once it gets voted out of committee, then you got to get it brought up to the floor for a vote in front of all the legislators. And that's what the Rules Committee does. The chair, the Speaker of the House determines which bills are eligible to be heard on the floor, so she can decide there's a few bills that passed out. I don't want them heard, and so we don't get to choose. But the rest of them, we in the Rules Committee get to choose which bills get heard. So all the other legislators reach out to us on the Rules Committee and say, hey, pick my bill, please pick my bill. And so you become everybody's friend really quick. They don't say a lot of negative things about you because they don't want you to kill their bill before it gets through. So I got to serve on rules. The other committee I served on was housing. And housing is a really big problem across the state. I heard a lot of housing bills this year. You'll probably notice on some of my votes, I went back and forth on some of my housing votes. So in committee, I voted one way, but when I got to the floor, I voted a different way. And the reason is bills can change through the whole process. So bills can go, when you hear it in committee, it can get changed 180 degrees in committee and mean exactly the opposite of what you put forward because the committee changed the bill. But when it goes to the floor, it can get changed 180 degrees a different direction too. And then once it gets voted out of the House, then it goes to the Senate and goes through the same process. And so it'll get voted in the Senate committee and it could get changed there. Then it gets voted on the Senate floor, it could get changed there. And then if they make any changes, it comes back to the House to vote again. And so sometimes you might vote for a bill here, but you don't vote for it over here because it's changed too much and doesn't mean the same thing. And those are all the things you got to pay attention to on over 2,000 bills. So there's a lot of stuff. Thankfully, we got a lot of great staff that help us with that, help us with the understanding of what the bills mean and everything else. So housing was a good committee to serve on. And then the last one, which I kind of thought was be an afterthought of a committee for me to be on, was state government and tribal affairs. And that's where a lot of my bills actually went through is that committee. Most of the Secretary of State bills go through that committee. And on transportation, there's 31 of us that serve on that committee. But on state government and tribal affairs, there's only 7 of us. And so when there's only 7 on the committee, every vote and every decision is really tight because it can go either way pretty easy. And so that was a fun committee to serve on. So I enjoyed serving on that. I enjoyed representing Lake Stevens in this community down in Olympia. Obviously, I'll be there again next year as long as I'm still walking. And then, you know, it's a 2-year position, so obviously I'll be on the ballot again next year if everything goes well that way. So happy to take a few questions. Again, I wasn't prepared to talk today, but we did it work. So, Lori?
So there's a few of us in this club that live in the Granite Falls area. And so you've talked a lot about what's going on in Lake Stevens. What about what kind of things should we be looking for in Granite Falls?
So we did have some requests for Granite Falls. I honestly looked at the list yesterday for Granite Falls, and I don't recall off the top of my head. But there is some stuff with Granite Falls in there. And if you follow up with me, and I think you did email me during session.
No, not me.
Okay,
I did.
you did. I will, I'll get the list together and get it sent over to you. And had I known I was speaking today, I would have brought the list with me. Lauren.
Yes, when I registered my Tesla this year, they charged me arbitrarily $150 for the use of the roads. Couldn't that be different? Wouldn't there be a better way if we could charge people with electric cars by the mile instead of an arbitrary figure like that?
Did Steve hand you money to ask that question? So that's an excellent question. So one of the things that the legislature is considering is what's called a RUC charge, a road usage charge. And they're looking at about 2.5 cents a mile. So they say we'll get rid of the gas tax, charge everybody 2.5 cents per mile that you drive. They've been working on it for about 10 years now and trying to develop it. And they think they have a system that's going to work on that. There's a lot of legislators that are really strongly supportive of it. I'm not quite as supportive of it. I would rather us focus on the gas tax and continue that going, because we basically collect that money for free. Because it costs money to collect money, and to do its road usage charge would cost money. And maybe go to a road usage charge with electric vehicles. Although I do like the fee too. I mean, I'd rather just pay 150 and not have to keep track of my miles at all. And it's actually two fees. There's the 150 and then there's a 75 for infrastructure that's also been added on there. So it's 225 to electric vehicles. One of the things I looked at early on when they were talking about this a couple years ago is we have about 8 to 9 million vehicles statewide. And so if you just divided that out by what we collect in gas tax, that's about $100 to $125 a car. So I'd rather it's just charge a flat rate, whether you drive 10 miles a year or 200 miles a year, and then just be done with it. Because I don't think people want to keep track of their mileage and have to every year do their mileage of the thing. But we all vote our district. And so I think a lot of Seattle legislators will go per mile because they live in the city and they don't do a lot of driving. But I represent a lot of rural area. You know, Lake Stevens is very urban, but most of the rest of the district is very rural. I think the rural area is very concerned about, they have to drive a lot of miles to go from Granite Falls to Linwood or Seattle or Bellevue, wherever they're driving for work. And so I think rural voters are more concerned about their road usage charge than people who live in the urban areas. So it's going to be debated. We didn't come to any conclusions this year. For me, I'm probably going to vote my district, which is hard because I have a very divided district on it. A very urban area in Lake Stevens and Marysville, very rural areas like Cedar Woolley and Rockport and Sultan, some of the other area in Granite Falls that I cover. So I know on a couple bills this year, I changed my vote based on all the emails I got from constituents in my district. And so it does matter when you email and say, hey, this is why I want you to vote this way or not vote that way. I can't vote. Usually the emails are split 50-50, so you got to pick one way or the other. But sometimes you get just an overwhelming amount, and it's your job as an elected official to judge where do I think my district is on this. And I really try hard to vote my district. I really do. But it's not easy because you have to sometimes guess. And these bills change a lot too. We had one bill where I'm getting off topic, but I'll come back. We had one bill where some Chinese Americans in Linwood said, do not vote for that bill. Whatever you do, don't vote for it. Now, they're not in my district, but they represented kind of everything. But then the bill did that 180-degree change. And I never heard back from anybody, but I voted because the bill changed. And then a couple of those people that emailed from here to Snohomish County, thank you so much for voting for that. And I was sweating because they said, don't vote for this bill. But because the bill had changed, they were happy with it. And sometimes you have to just guess on this stuff. So, but getting back to the road usage charge, it's you're going to hear about it more in the years to come. We'll see where that goes.
So what's the tonnage charge? I have 2 tonnage charges on my renewal on my 2-seater T-Bird, you know, so I don't really carry much weight in there. You know, and I don't remember that being on the relicensing of last year.
So the tonnage charge, I think they added last year, the year before, it was something that was just recently added. It wasn't added this session. Everything that we just did this session, most of it won't take effect till July 1st, because that's when the new biennium starts. So I wasn't really involved in that tonnage stuff because it was before I was in the legislature, but I can look into it. But I do remember talking about it at the time, that they want to charge more. And we, even in the transportation committee, we saw some legislators wanting to have different sets of rules for heavier vehicles. So there's kind of an anti-heavy vehicle push in Olympia with some legislators. And so again, that's something that will get worked out in the next few years, but that charge is on there for now. I don't think that charge is going to go away, unfortunately.
Will there be a special session to deal with the legalization of drugs?
So I do think one of my phones is going there, my assistant. I do think there'll be a special session. Usually what happens when they call a special session is just the leadership will talk and then they'll just bring us back for one day to vote.
Even though the leadership might meet for 1, 2, 3 weeks or 30 days on the special session, but us as legislators will just come back to the final vote and have an up or down vote. The drug one was a very difficult one. We had a bipartisan bill that came out of the Senate, which was what I call the compromise bill. And it was supported by Republicans and Democrats. And speaking for the Republican House caucus, we supported that bipartisan bill out of the Senate. The reality, though, is the House Democrats who have the majority in the House, they didn't want that particular bill. And so the Senate made some adjustments. The House said, no, we're not going to hear it. And so basically we had 2 bills that were competing against each other. One that was passed by the Democrats in the House, one that was passed by the Senate. So it went to what's called the conference committee. And so in the conference committee, they worked out a deal. But that deal didn't include the House Republicans. And so when it came up for a vote, all the Republicans voted against it and 13 of the Democrats. And so it didn't pass. The reason I voted against it is because I thought we could get better local control and better results locally. And so we are working on that locally. I do think it's problematic. I don't want local control on this because, I don't want to have Marysville and Lake Stevens have different drug laws, and you go to Arlington, it's different, and everywhere else. I think that is very problematic, but the bill that was before us, I didn't feel like there was any teeth, and I think people want to see people get help. I don't think any of us want to see people locked up for drug use, but I think we all want to see them get help. And so it's going to be a challenge, but I think there'll be a nice compromise that'll come out. We have till July 1st to get that taken care of. And that's because 2 years ago, they passed the bill and said it's only good for 2 years. So it expires on July 1st. So yes, it'll be a special session, I think, but it's up to the governor to call that. He's going to call it if there is some sort of agreement. That's what it's about.
And on that,
I'm over time.
Lake Stevens, we've already passed an ordinance. It goes in effect July 1st to cover Lake Stevens, and then my fellow mayors across the county, we've coordinated to ensure that the ordinances everybody does is the same kind of ordinance. The whole could be is that the county. I think the county will end up with something.
Yeah, ours should be similar to cities.
Yeah, so you're gonna see similar ordinances throughout the county, so we don't have strange ordinances, not copacetic ordinances.
So this is about public drug use or?
Correct.
The Blake fix. I'm going to call on you, Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah, just so everyone knows how this, what happened was in the past, if you pull somebody over, your cop gets you in and they find drugs in possession, it's a felony. It has been like that for decades. And then all of a sudden, and this is not just this state, but it's other states where, because there was poorly written legislation dealing with the intent of the individual, the Supreme Court struck it down. And I was actually part of that 2-year thing. So court struck it down, and then a bunch of us moderates decided, oh, we'll just put the intent in there because thing is, someone could say, oh, this is for personal use. Me personally, that doesn't make any sense anyway. But so the court struck it down. So it was me, Senator Mullet, a couple others. Okay, we're gonna fix this legislation, put felonies back in there, because the judges were like, and the prosecutors, we need the felony as a hammer to force somebody into rehab. Right? You typically don't charge people, it's very few of them get charged felony. It's used as a forcing mechanism. I didn't realize that there was a large number of legislators that want to legalize everything, right?
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And it was a huge fight. So the only thing that we could get out at the time was this 2-year work group. And it was like not even I think it was like a misdemeanor.
Yeah, it was misdemeanor.
So it was really irritating, but at the end, you know, we're hoping that as it came out in the Senate, to be a gross misdemeanor, that would be the forcing mechanism, but there's still a fairly large group of people that still want it totally legalized, everything,
Steve, how long did you serve in the Senate?
15 years.
15 years, so just know I've got 4 months' experience and he's got 15 years. And Steve's been great to work with. He truly has and has had a great Rotarian spirit with me over the years doing political stuff. And I truly value his wisdom, experience, and friendship, and been great to work with. So I'm over time. Thanks for letting me just spout off with no.
And it is true that he, I sent a bunch of emails to him and bam, answers back. So I appreciate that. It's amazing. Some legislators don't even do that. Same with Steve over there, but. So we have a $25 donation to the Lake Stevens Education Foundation in her name and helping Lake Stevens and the state of Washington, really. All we got, so appreciate that. And then we have, I think that's it, except for the tulip thing there. We got tulip sales in the back there with the Connor Rotary Club. So anything for the good of the whole. Okay, seeing none, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
She was an honorary.
Yeah.